Wow, too bad you missed the president's breakfast.
I had to go to a wedding. What did I miss?
Great breakfast, free gifts and great resources for starters. Lance Miller showed several videos of champion speakers. That was so inspiring. I won one of the complimentary raffle prizes.
Cool.
I met the district leaders and networked with other club presidents. I got questions answered, and so did lots of others.
Wow, what an experience. Great speeches, great explanation of the BCP from the President's distinguished point of view. I want to do a few shout outs now. How many of your clubs got 4 officers trained? The presidents of your clubs are going to the fall conference for free. How many of you got 7 officers trained?
Yeah!
Vice presidents of education and presidents are going to the fall conference for free. That's how much we believe in training. I remember last year, not this last one, but the year before, when I was the LGT, I was sitting in my training, my international training, and thinking, how can we get clubs distinguished if the officers don't know what they're doing? And I realized how very, very important training is. And it's not just a training that you get from TLI, it's what you teach each other. And one of the things that we're going to do, Tammy and Jen and I experienced it, I've experienced it for the last 3 years. At International, what you do is you walk into a room and there are numbers on each of the tables with a topic. And you choose a topic and you sit down with your peers and you discuss that topic for 5 to 10 minutes. And then they tell you to move. And you go and sit at another table with another topic. And you sit down and you discuss that with your peers. There are no Toastmaster International people there. There are no trainers. It's you with your other peers. I think I learned more at that particular event than anything else I did. I always learn more at that. And that's what we want to encourage you to do. That's why TLI is becoming late. So we want you all working together. That's why we're having this meeting here today, so that you're all together learning from each other. Because that's the best way to learn. We need to inspire ourselves. We need to encourage ourselves. Here's another way we're doing that. I challenged you clubs, the clubs. If you're distinguished by December 30th, that means you've gotten 5 DCP points. If you're distinguished by then, you will get a gavel that has engraved on it the name of the club and the charter date. Because we want you to do that. We want you to be successful. Now let me just tell you this, the good news. We already have 1 select distinguished club. Wow. Renaissance speakers. We already have 4 other clubs that are distinguished. Burbank.
All right.
Sales Mastery.
All right, cool.
And Sherman Oaks. MDSP is very close with 4. It's possible. You still have plenty of time to get your club up to distinguish. And what we find is clubs that go to distinguish wind up the president's distinguished by the end of the year. Almost nobody stays at select distinguished. Almost nobody stays at distinguished unless they're still struggling and moving along. Now we have lots of programs that we are going to be doing and we'll be announcing those periodically, but this is your time to ask questions of the district governor. People to complete a program in a year. It's a challenge. It's truly a big challenge. The way you do that is, first of all, you get commitment from everyone to get through their program. That's the first thing. The second thing is, then you figure out how many people need to do that. And once you figure that out, then you have to make sure you're having meetings at least once a week. And then finally, what you have to do is you have to figure out how many speak-a-thons that you have to do. In other words, not club meetings, but just where you're giving a speech and an evaluation, a speech and evaluation, a speech and evaluation, to make that happen. Yes?
Let me just address that real quickly. First of all, this is part of the Championship Club program that I do. Part of your club dynamic is the fact that you have about a 30-year club that falls off every year. So when we had 95 members, we got 30 new members that year, but we did 57 educational completions. So we didn't do 95 because we had about a third leaving. That's normal. You have about a third of your membership that's hardcore dedicated members. You have a third that I call it are there. They're there. Then you have a third that are, getting pregnant or going back to school, okay, or just disinterested in leaving on that. And what we did, we went to double meetings. We actually, when we were doing it, we had double meetings. We had a meeting, we had a weekend meeting, we had a Wednesday night meeting, and then we would create the speaking slots. But what we did, we geared our production of speaking slots towards the membership. We didn't cap the membership based on the number of speaking slots, which a lot of clubs do. They go, I only have three speaking slots, we meet once a week. We created it in the meeting. We would get the people, we would create the opportunity for the people to speak. Okay, that's how we did it.
Thanks. Yeah, that's a number of things. Now, we have one more thing, and then I'll get to you, Mark. We have 2 more things that we have just put into place. We're working on them now, and then anyone wants to volunteer to help with this, we really do need the help. The first thing is we're calling it the dynamic duos. We are asking people to speak at clubs, especially clubs that need extra speakers, and we have plenty of those. We have plenty of those. But the other half of the duo is an evaluator. Because, as Tammy said, and is absolutely true, a lot of people just don't get what a good evaluation is until they see a good evaluation. So we're asking teams to go out to clubs as a team, the dynamic duo, a speaker and an evaluator. The speaker is evaluated by a member of the club. The evaluator evaluates another speaker, not their team member, another speaker. Okay? We'd like to have at least one team for each division. If more of you want to do it, that's fine. And I would recommend that the speaker be someone who's done at least 6 speeches out of the basic manual. One more thing. The second thing we want to start is, do you know the concept of sister city? Where there's a city in Europe or in Asia that matches up with a city here in the United States? Well, we're going to do sister clubs. What we want is a successful club to help a club that's having some struggles. Because part of the problem with clubs, again, they don't see what it is to be a good club. They don't see, what are the different things you have to do. And having a few of them come visit a club that is successful and is doing well and is a well-oiled machine is very important. So we want to team up 2 clubs together and make that possible. So those are 2 programs that we want to do. We'd like to get people to work on them. It is an HPL, a high performance leadership credit for the person who works on those. Not the people who participate in it, but the person who organizes it. And we'd love to get some of you. I have the manuals. Those manuals are $17 each. I'm giving those to people who are willing to do the HPL. I am making it possible in every way I can for everyone here to work. I've seen this problem before. What I can tell you is you need to start sparking people to speak. If you want to have lots of guests and visitors, you got to have people that are speaking. The two go hand in hand. Your Competent Communicator Manual is your most valuable marketing tool. And if people don't want to speak, then what are they Toastmasters for? Why are they there? You need to go back and find out, why did you join Toastmasters? What is it that you were looking for? Okay, that means you have to speak. Now, the hardest thing I do as a Toastmaster is coming up with an idea and writing a speech. And I've been doing this since I was 14 years old. And of course, that was only 10 years ago. But it's still hard for me. And we have to understand that the creative process sometimes is painful. And writing a speech is a creative process. So we have to help people move through that. So pushing it through in any way you can. And simply saying, you know, you made a commitment. Stand and deliver. It's time. It doesn't mean you have to be mean about it, but stand and deliver. Let's go, and that's how I got the idea. We did it quite by accident. What happened to me was, I needed to speak, and the Renaissance speakers at the time just didn't have enough speaking slots, and I felt comfortable speaking outside the club. So I booked myself. I needed 9 speeches to finish an advanced manual. I booked myself at 9 clubs. I went to the second club, and I wound up at that club being a speaker, being an evaluator, and giving a table talk. And guess what happened? I won. Best speaker, best evaluator, best table talk. Now, I could go, yeah! But the reality is I didn't. It was like, oh my gosh, this is awful. I was talking with Roberta at the time about it, and one of our friends, Janai, was saying, you know, I don't feel comfortable going to giving speeches, but I like to do evaluations, and she was very good at evaluations. The two of us teamed up, and that's what we discovered, is that that's how it works. And it's really a successful program. It's amazing. Once you start getting people excited again about it, and you have to keep redoing that periodically. It's not a simple thing. Like the story about Renaissance speakers. I was one of the people in the coffee clutch when the Renaissance speakers was deciding whether they were going to survive or not. And we were the ones who said, okay, let's do it. And all of a sudden, people were committing to making their speeches and getting things done. And at the same time, where we meet at Celebrity Center was going through a total renovation. So every time we met, we didn't know where we were going to meet. We met out on the lawn, we met on the roof, we met in tents, we met in trailers, we met every different possible place. It didn't matter. People still showed up because we were so excited about doing this. And that's what it takes, just getting people excited about doing it. And you, as presidents, that's your job. If you're uncomfortable with it, talk to me. I'm happy to help. Lance has something he wants to add.
A couple things with your club environment, especially getting people to speak. First of all, you want to make sure you encourage and state openly this is a safe place to fail, it's a safe place to screw up. We encourage that, we welcome that, so people are comfortable to get up in front of your group and not be perfect. Because we've all been slammed through most of our life for speaking out. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
I mean, I had 5 sisters. I was told to shut up in harmony as a kid. And the second thing is I would recommend booking your speaker, trying to schedule your speakers out like 5 or 6 weeks so they know when they're going to speak, so they have prediction. And they know they have a speech coming up in 3 weeks, so it's not just a 1 week. If you're only doing 1 week in advance, sometimes it's hard for people to come up with a speech topic that fast. And the third thing is you should already have everybody in your club scheduled on what completion they're going to get this year. And so you talk to every member, your vice president of education is going to talk to every member and say you're going to do a CL, you're going to do an AC, you're going to do a CC, and they have that commitment, and now we're just scheduling you so you can get through that. But the big thing is make sure that environment is an environment where it's okay to fail and screw up. Therefore, the people are willing to let down this concept that they have to give a perfect speech, and they're going to be willing to learn through their mistakes.
Joe?
Yes.
Justin, if you have a speaker who's like, I can't think of what to talk about, Have them recycle some of their previous speeches. Take a previous speech and apply the next skill in the competent leader manual. You could take one speech, except for the icebreaker, and go through the whole manual and make that one speech a world champion.
Yeah, exactly. I've done that actually, and it's amazing what you learn. Things you never thought you would ever learn about one speech. Was it? Yes.
That's what I'd like to suggest, and what I've heard for this breakfast, is the importance of learning how to evaluate and get the training to evaluate. Because it is through great evaluations that I have become a better speaker. It's not a negative experience when you're being evaluated. You express the positive aspects of their speech, and you make an instructive suggestion. Nothing that is negative, because that can turn and discourage people from getting up and speaking.
Exactly. No pain, no gain does not apply to speech evaluation.
I wanted to make one comment on that I learned from my mentor, and that is, do not have a brand new evaluator evaluate an icebreaker. Ever. Always have one of your experienced evaluators evaluate your icebreaker. That's the first thing they're going to remember, is that they got a positive evaluation, and experienced evaluators know how to do that.
Evaluator manual, you'll see, for the icebreaker, the whole purpose of the evaluation is to encourage that person to do their next speech. Okay, did everybody hear that?
No.
If you have, when you're doing your mentors, and you have mentoring the first 3 speeches, it might be a good idea for that mentor to pick out who the evaluators will be for that particular individual. I think that's a good idea. About mentoring, make sure the Vice President of Education and the President should be watching who's being assigned to mentor whom. Because we want to make sure that it's a positive experience. And the mentor might be a wonderful person, but the wrong person to be the mentor for that individual. So really take the time to figure out who the best mentor is. I've talked about the President's Distinguished Challenge. What Lance is talking about is the President's Distinguished Program, but that only takes you so far. There are clubs who every year, year in, year out, are President's Distinguished. When I was President and Renaissance Speaker a couple of years ago, the first thing on my mind was, not on my watch will Renaissance Speakers be anything but 10 points President's Distinguished. Not on my watch. And I'm sure every other president has done the same thing, and I know Roberta is thinking of that as well. It was announced at International, that there are about 14,000 clubs in Toastmasters around the world. There are only 43 clubs in the world who have gotten all 10 points of the President's Distinguished over a 9-year period. Only 43 clubs for 9 years consecutively. Two of those clubs are represented in this room today. Warner Center and Renaissance Speakers. Now let's talk some trash. Yeah, all right, let me answer that. Okay, here's the answer. Your manual belongs to you, period. Your speeches belong to you, period. Wherever you do those speeches, you do them. People who belong to multiple clubs wind up giving one manual to each club, and that's what I do. The manual belongs to you. Who you give that manual to, that credit to, which club, is your choice, not the club's. The ethics involved in this are your ethics as a member of Toastmasters. It's your ethics, your responsibility. Our biggest problem, and it's not just District 52, I see this everywhere. Evaluators, that's the big problem. Getting people to really understand what it takes to be a good evaluator. That is a true talent. And many people can do that. Lance, do you have something you want to add to
just
that?
on the evaluation, one of the things I've really pushed for in your clubs, and this is one of the things I talk about Toastmasters internationally on this, is doing the Toastmasters program and not some other creation that we come up with. The Toastmasters evaluation is laid out in the manual. And was the speaker prepared for the speech? Did it have a good opening? Was the body logical? Were the transitions clear and understood? the evaluation is laid out right in that manual. If you evaluate per the manual, as it asks you to, we stay on the Toastmasters program and everybody wins. We go off that onto, you know, no man's land, trying to think of, I have to evaluate this, and they repeat the speech to you. You opened with this, and you said this, and you said this, and you said, I know, I heard the speech. Or I didn't feel like it was as warm and fuzzy as I would have liked. You know, we get off on all this other stuff. The Toastmasters program works through the Toastmasters curriculum, and that means you do the speeches per the manual, and you evaluate the speeches per the manual, and when you do that, everything starts to smooth out, and you start to see people win incredibly. So let's not get too complicated. Just push to keep it standard in that manual, and it works great.
I want to talk a little trash here. Talk a little trash. Find a little trash. And here's what I want to talk about. I have put together a thing called the President's Distinguished Challenge. It's above and beyond the DCP. In order to be a member or be eligible for it, the club has to have all 10 points of the DCP and beyond. It means you'll get additional points if you do something on a DCP additional. For example, you need 2 CCs for 1 point. So if you do an additional 2 CCs, in other words, you've done 6 CCs, then you get 1 extra point. If you do a dozen CCPCs, you get additional points. And that's true for each one of those. It also goes for membership as well. But above and beyond that, you get extra points for getting all of your officers trained. You get extra points. You get 1 point for each new club you sponsor. Now, a new club that's chartered can have 2 clubs that sponsor it. And you get a ribbon from founders, a ribbon from Toastmasters as a founder. So you get an extra point for that. You get a point, you get 2 points for each club that coaches another club, in other words, a sister club, to distinguish. So if you tell me that our club, XYZ, is going to coach ABC, and if at the end of the year, ABC is distinguished, then you get an extra 2 points. And finally, 1 point for each training, for training all 7 of your officers. So there's a number of ways that this can be done, and we've got some clubs that are on the game. Last year, Renaissance won. And among the things that they get is they get bragging rights until June 30th. And since I know this club well, I know they will brag until midnight on June 30th. There are other things as well as trophies and a little bit of cake and coffee and a little bit of meals and all the rest. But you get to be the #1 club in District 52. Now the gauntlet has been dropped. In other words, the challenge is on. Warner Center was fairly close. Sales Mastery was fairly close. And I understand Warner Center has something up their sleeves. Sales Mastery we can't stop those guys. My God. And Burbank's, all of a sudden, there they are, and I'm going, holy cow, look at this. Sherman Oaks sliding right in there. Who is going to be the #1 club in District 52?
Warner Center. Captivating.
Yeah, you got to worry about captivating.
Yeah.
They got the membership to do it. And they got Shanti. Oh my God. Okay, who's going to do it? What are the challenges here? Anybody else? I mean, you can do it. Glenn, what's the matter with you?
I'm sorry, you have to go.
Go. District 52. Are you going to be the top club in District 52? Of course. Okay.
Silently.
Silent. You're going to sneak stealth. Sneaky. That's right. That happens. People sneak in. But let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, with the new dashboard Toastmasters International has, I will know. No sandbagging. I don't want to see any sandbagging. As soon as you get something complete, you report it immediately. If you're nervous about that, you shouldn't be. Being a president of the club is actually a lot of fun, and there are a lot of things you can do. We are going to be offering you lots of tools to help you through that. And of course, at the end of the day, you all have my business card in your folder, and you can always email me. Text me, phone me, yell, help, cry, I don't care. I will make sure that we get you the help you need.
All in all, the president's breakfast was really worthwhile and great fun.
Now, I need to figure out how to be a club president again.